I said to him, why is everybody so mean to me? And he said, why are you so mean to everybody? That was the trigger point. I was gone for years. And I wrote him, oh, I don't know. Every now and then I'd sit down at the typewriter and write him what a son of a bitch I thought he was. How when I first got to Europe, everyone thought he was a charlatan. I thought he was too. And I didn't, he was the most conceited, vain man. I really had a great time.
And you sent all these letters?
Sent the letters, of course I did. And I thought, I hope he drops dead of a stroke. And I felt very good. I just felt fine. When I can get mad, I can lose 5 pounds just by getting mad. Just the adrenaline goes, and I just think, it's the opposite of poor little me. And if I don't care, let it all go, stuff it up. I don't care what happens. And one morning I woke up, and I began to laugh. I thought, for God's sake, what's been going on here? What a jackass you. And suddenly I realized, sure, he really did it. And so I phoned Miss Schmidt, Fräulein Schmidt, and asked if I could have an appointment. And she laughed and said, oh, yes, she said, Professor Jung told me to save some time for you. He thought you'd be calling shortly.
And sometimes he'd be quite unfair to one. And he'd tell me, at the club, for instance, he'd go and something speak horrid to people. And then he'd go home saying, now, wasn't that nasty of me? I really spoilt their weekend and saw shows on Saturday evenings. But when they next came to analysis, he found that that particular nastiness was exactly what they wanted, what they needed. I really got more from Jung when he hit me over the head than any other time. I don't mean literally.
He had very small eyes, and when he looked through those little eyes, well, usually over the top of his eyeglasses, you knew that he was looking at something that you couldn't see. And what came out was usually some very simple fact. It wasn't any aura or any great message that came back from the beyond. It was something about your ordinary life or the ordinary situation. I described a party where I felt the shadow got loose with Jung at the center of it, where they threw a knotted towel from one person to another around a circle. Jung kept this thing going almost beyond endurance, and I fell down and broke my glasses, and somebody else skinned a knee, and at the end of the party we were all in shambles, but this was characteristic of Jung's intolerance of persona. He was so afraid that the party would stick on a polite persona level that he engineered it to bring out the shadow. And in the end, we all had a marvelous time. We all got drunk, and it was it ended very happily.
He became a human being, and a total one. I mean, he included everything.
He could be terrible.
He could be terrible.
He could be absolutely terrible.
In these ways.
Yeah. I remember one thing when we sailed on the lake up there, Bolingen, you know, in his boat, and there was the wind died down completely, and we were way up from the Turm, you know.
I see, yes.
Way up, and so there was nothing else but to row. And I was an old sailor, and you know, I knew how to row.
I felt that Jung should tell me what I should do, whether I should write a book, whether I should get a divorce, what I should do. And he wouldn't. And so I got mad at him. And I said, why is everybody so mean to me? And he said, why are you so mean to everybody? So I stormed out. And
relationship. And so that most of us of my generation didn't prepare to be an analyst, but we went to an analyst so that he could tinker with our psyches. And somewhere along the line we'd say, wouldn't it be peachy if I could be one of those too?
I have to remember our first appointment, because Joe and I went together, and he talked right over the top of my head to Joe, arranging my appointments. And I finally said, well, where do I come in? And he said, oh, that comes later. And I'll never forget that.
Jane and I arrived in Zurich in 1932. We had a very deep bond between the two of us, but we also were very dissimilar. And so we got into horrendous clashes and crashes. We just were anxious to get a hold of something that would give us some tools to work with so that we could resolve these clashes.
I was not so enamored of him at first. I thought the way he talked, no, it was his writing. Of course, it was very intuitive writing. It wasn't my dish. And I kept thinking, who the hell does he think he is? You know, how do you know what he's saying? I mean, how does he know what he's saying is right? And I was really very resistant.
It is almost a rule, but I don't want to make too many rules. In order not to be schematic, that an introvert marries an extrovert for compensation, or another type marries the counter type to complement himself.
I thought, well, he's just talking through his hat, and I just can't go for that stuff. Until I got in trouble and had him head on, and then, my God, he just made all kinds of sense. I liked his opening comment. He said, oh, so you're in the soup too. I like the two. Yeah.
The archetype is a force, it has an autonomy. It can suddenly seize you. It is like a seizure.
Yes.
So, for instance, falling in love at first sight, that is such a case. You see, you have a certain image in yourself without knowing it of the woman, of the woman.
Yes.
Now you see that girl, or at least a good imitation of your type. And instantly you get a seizure and you're gone. And afterwards you may discover that it was a hell of a mistake. Or you see, a man is quite capable, he's intelligent enough to see that that woman of his choice, as one says, not no choice, he has been captured.
Yeah.
You know, he sees that she is no good at all, that she is a hell of a business. And he tells me so, and he said, for God's sake, doctor, help me to get rid of that woman. He can't. He's like clay in her fingers. And that is the archetype. That is so-called archetype of the anima.
Yes.
He thinks it is all his soul, you know. Like the girls, you know, when a man sings very high, then he thinks he must have a very wonderful spiritual character because he can sing the high C.
Yes.
And she's badly disappointed when she marries at that particular number.
Yeah.
Well, that is the archetype of the animus.
Yeah.
This is built right into the center of Jung's whole psychology, that one should develop one's contrasexual components, as Margaret Mead so quaintly phrases it. But Jung prefers to talk about the animus and the anima, meaning the feminine side of the masculine side of the woman and the feminine side of the man. And so that all of us who are really committed and involved in the Jungian world are very busy trying to develop our animuses or our animas, and we don't ever expect that it's going to be quite a dead heat, and that our voices will alternate from soprano to basso, or that we are going to get a reissue of our vital parts. But on the other hand, we do feel that usually going on a two-step operation first with the projection of one's anima or one's animus, and then the gradual peeling of it off and taking it back in again and assimilating it and hopefully integrating it into one's consciousness, that this androgynous or almost androgynous state of being is the way one hopes to be before they throw the switch.
In the beginning stages of a relationship, there's generally a lot of projection mixed up with it. And that is responsible for all those love quarrels. I mean, she makes demands which he can't fulfill, and he makes demands she can't fulfill, and animus anima, crossing the swords. And I mean, if you tape record a love quarrel, it's the same all over the world, literally. And that is projection. And if people don't run away, but work it out and take back all what is projection in it, then appears or is peeled out of all this the true relationship. Now, it might be none. And then it would be like the Freudian thing, goodbye, and now I see you simply represented that and that in me, and thank you very much, goodbye. Or there might be a tremendous amount of relationship, true relationship built up, which is not the same thing as projection.
The intensity of our struggle suddenly became clear to me that Jane had a thinking function developed, and I had a developed feeling function. And of course that was upside down. Everybody knows that men think and women feel, only what didn't happen to be so with us.
But I think that what he did for women came through his tremendous interest in the individual. And women could be individuals too. And this problem of what is feminine and what is masculine and so forth and so on almost came as second to that. Mm-hmm. So I think in a sense, and then of course his discovery of the animus and the anima, that did a lot.
Jung was not apt to be a father figure. He was in an astonishing way near to you. Natural. He could sit down and after 10 seconds you felt to speak with a brother, not with a father. And if you had had this brother relationship to him, where you discussed in a free way, where you accepted that he got angry, where you also were ready to get angry at him, as men do in an upright, clear way, it was easy to get along with him. But the moment where one thought that he was a father figure, he was for men very destructive. Because he was too irrational to give a guidance as a father. He changed too openly, too often his mind to give such a guidance. That's a natural thing to change one's mind. But a normal thing. But a father should give a certain guidance. And he had no intention at all to give a guidance. So for men, it was often difficult because the moment men look, and many men look for a father, whereas with women it went along much better because a woman doesn't look so much for a father, she looks for a lover. And he was charming, seducing, and there he offered transference, often a little bit too much. But with a great healing power. With a great healing power.
Well, what about the atmosphere in Zurich at that time?
Well, that's what put me off. Oh, the cultism was just reeking. It was just awful. There were the transferences. And I swore I would never get a transference. That one thing I decided right away. because it just looked too awful. I mean, these people were just